Would you forgive your own blood if they smiled at you while taking everything your mother wanted you to have? I'm standing in our old kitchen, the sink dripping, the clock ticking, and I can feel the answer sitting heavy in my chest. Before I tell you what happened, tell me this. Are you the one who keeps the family together, even when it hurts? If you are, stay with me. And if stories like this hit home, subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, because this one changes fast. I grew up in a house that smelled like cardamom tea and lemon soap. Mom believed in small rituals, fresh sheets on Sundays, shoes by the door, and one rule we never broke. Tell the truth, even if your voice shakes. My brother and I were raised on that sentence. She would say it softly while folding towels. She would say it sharply at the dinner table if we argued. Tell the truth, even if your voice shakes. My brother Daniel used to be the funny one. He could make Mom laugh so hard she'd hide her face in her apron. He knew how to change the mood of a room with a joke or a hug. People trusted him, and so did I. I was the steady child, the list maker, the bill payer, the one who knew where the spare keys lived. Between the two of us, we made one full adult. He warmed the room, I locked the doors. As Mom got older, our roles grew sharper. I handled her appointments and medicine. He handled her stories, sitting for hours at the table, letting her wander through memories as if they were rooms. I used to watch them and think, this is how it should be. Love in two forms, care you can hold and care you can feel. Did you ever tell yourself everything was fine because you needed it to be? I did. I needed the picture in my head to stay perfect. We weren't rich, not the way TV shows it. But Mom had a house, paid off. She had a little land, 2 gold bangles from her mother, and a savings account she never touched unless the roof leaked. I'm not fancy, she'd say. I'm prepared. Before Dad passed, he and Mom had put together a simple will. Half and half, Dad had told us, smiling with pride, like fairness itself was a gift he could wrap in paper. It made sense. We were both their children. What else would you do? But time can make simple things complicated. When Mom's health dipped, talk about money came more often, like a low hum under the noise of life. Bills do that. I started noticing small changes. An envelope moved on the desk, a folder not where I left it. I'd tell myself I was tired, that I misplaced it. Yet at night, the thoughts lined up like strangers outside a door. Who opened this? Who signed that? Why did the lawyer call and hang up? Why did Daniel's jokes land a little too hard when the subject turned to property? We tried to keep things gentle for Mom. She hated arguments. We are not that family, she'd remind us. But even in quiet families, silence can be loud. One afternoon, I saw Daniel in the hallway with the file box we used for important papers. He smiled when he noticed me, this quick flash that didn't reach his eyes. Just organizing, he said. I wanted to believe him. I tried to believe him. Have you ever chosen a soft lie over a hard truth because you love someone? I did, and I still wonder if that was my first mistake. The last good day with Mom felt like spring inside the house. She sat by the window and let the sun warm her hands. We looked through old photos, the ones of Dad fishing, the ones of us in crooked birthday hats. Mom tapped each picture as if blessing it. You two, she whispered, take care of each other. Money comes and goes, love stays. Promise me. We nodded too quickly, the way children do when they want the moment to pass because it hurts. That evening, I went to the kitchen for tea and found a small note on the counter in Mom's careful, slanted handwriting. Call Mr. Bennett in the morning. He was her lawyer, the same one we'd known for years. Normal, I told myself. Maybe she wanted to update some details. Maybe she wanted her favorite chair to go to the grandkids. My heart pressed against my ribs anyway, tapping like fingers on a table. Why the urgency? Why now? After dinner, Daniel offered to put Mom to bed. He carried her gently, joked about how the pillow was winning the fight against her hair, and she laughed, that soft laugh I loved. When he came back to the living room, I asked, "What's with Mr. Bennett?" He shrugged and changed the subject too fast. His smile, again, didn't climb all the way to his eyes. "Just routine," he said. "Nothing big." Then he asked, "You trust me, right?" That question felt wrong in my mouth, like a spoon you know is dirty, but you use anyway. I lay awake that night, listening to the house breathe. The refrigerator clicked. The pipes sighed. Somewhere, a branch scratched the window. I tried counting reasons to trust my brother. I tried counting reasons not to. The numbers kept changing, like the math refused to settle. I got out of bed for water and saw the hallway light was on. Footsteps whispered. Not heavy, careful, too careful. Do you know that feeling when your body knows something before your brain does? The hairs on my arms rose like small soldiers. When Mom started needing more rest, I took over the office, the little room with the blue curtains and the old oak desk. It was no secret. Mom had handed me the keys to the locked drawer and said, "This is for when I forget where I put trust." We laughed at the line, but now I stood there outside the half-open door and felt my breath stall. The desk lamp was on. Paper lay on the surface, spread like a fan. I could hear the soft scratch of a pen. I told myself I was being dramatic. Maybe Daniel was paying a bill. Maybe he was writing a note or making a list. But when I pushed the door gently and saw the scene, something inside me shifted. Daniel's shoulders were curved, forward, his body blocking the drawer. His hand moved in small, neat motions. He didn't hear me at first. The lamplight cut across his face, and then he turned, slow, like he had been listening the whole time. His smile came first. It was the kind of smile you practice in a mirror, smooth and harmless. "Couldn't sleep," he said. "Thought I'd get ahead of the paperwork." He lifted his hand slightly, just enough to show the pen. Our mother's pen. The long black one she used for only two things: birthday checks and legal papers. A tiny clench in my stomach pulled tight. I noticed the drawer key in the lock. I noticed a folder labeled with our last name and the word "will" underlined twice. I noticed the top page had a fresh crease, like it had been folded and pressed and opened again. Today. I wanted to talk. I wanted to ask calm questions, but my voice came out thin. "What are you doing?" He laughed, too light. "Relax," he said. "I'm fixing things. You'll thank me." Fixing. That word sounded like a trap. I stepped closer and saw a signature line near the bottom of a document. The ink on the line glistened wet. He followed my eyes and moved his hand over it, casual like a magician covering a card. Every part of me said to grab the paper, to shout, to wake Mom, to call someone, anyone. But I froze, stuck between the person I'd always been, the peacemaker, the one who waits, and the person the moment was forcing me to become. Have you ever felt your life tilt, like furniture sliding across the floor during an earthquake? That was me, holding the doorframe, trying to keep the room still. He stood up slowly. The chair legs brushed the rug. He held the pen loosely, as if even the pen were tired. "You know," he said, voice low, "Dad always meant for me to manage things. You're too careful." He looked at me like caution was a flaw, not a mercy. My heart beat in my throat. I thought of Mom's rule. Tell the truth, even if your voice shakes. My voice didn't just shake. It splintered. "Put the papers down," I said, "right now." He didn't. He set the pen on the desk, gently, like placing a flower. He reached for the folder. My eyes were fire and ice at the same time. The room felt small. The air felt thin. I took another step and the floor creaked, and he blinked, and a new expression crossed his face. Something hungry, something sad, maybe both. He opened his mouth to speak. That night I saw my brother standing in Mom's office, holding her pen. Morning tasted like metal. I didn't sleep. Every creak of the house sounded like a lie walking on tiptoe. When the sun finally pulled a weak strip of light across the hallway, I went straight to Mom's office. The lamp was off. The drawer was locked. The folder labeled "Will" was gone. I checked the usual places: the top shelf, the accordion file, the safe box under the desk. Nothing. The pen was there, though, lying alone, like a clue that couldn't talk. I held it and felt a chill move through me. This was her pen. She kept it wrapped in a soft towel like it was a small, living thing. She used it for birthdays and legal papers, nothing else. Why did it feel heavy in my hand today? I opened the window to breathe. Outside, the morning was honest. Birds loud, sky plain blue, neighbor's dog already complaining about nothing. Inside, my chest rattled with a question that wouldn't settle. What did he sign? What did he change? I kept hearing his voice from last night. I'm fixing things. You'll thank me. Fixing what? Who asked you to fix our mother's truth? When I came into the kitchen, Daniel was already there with a mug like he'd slept well. He looked at me and smiled. You're up early, he said. I saw a smudge of ink on his finger that he hadn't washed off. He noticed my eyes and tucked his hand under the table. Where's the folder? I asked. No hello. No good morning. Just that. My voice was calm the way ice looks calm before it cracks. He lifted one shoulder. Which folder? The kind of answer that turns the air sour. You know which one. The will. The word felt too big in the small room. He sipped his coffee. Relax. This again? You're always so dramatic. Dramatic. I looked at the sink and saw a ring of last night's tea around the drain. My breath came shallow. I need the folder, Daniel. Where is it? He stood, scraping the chair. I put it somewhere safe. He said it like I should thank him. You worry too much. That's why I handle things. It wasn't just the words. It was the tone. Gentle, practiced, the voice you use with a child or a skittish dog. You handle things by writing in Mom's office at 2 a.m, I asked. He frowned like I'd made a mess. Bills don't pay themselves. Papers don't file themselves. He walked past me and opened the fridge as if the conversation bored him. I made appointments. I talked to Mr. Bennett last week. We're getting everything in order. Everything in order. That phrase rang like a bell I didn't ask to hear. Without me? I said. He shrugged again. You're busy. You get emotional. Someone has to be practical. There it was, gaslighting in a sweater. He was telling me I was too soft for truth, too fragile for facts, when I had been the one holding this house together with calendar reminders and grocery lists and quiet prayers. I felt heat rise, then fall into something colder. Mom was still asleep when I knocked and went in. Her chest rose and fell in the steady metronome of age. I sat on the edge of her bed and took her hand. Mom, I whispered, do you remember telling me about the drawer key? The way you keep important things where the truth can find them? Her eyes fluttered open, and she smiled, confused and sweet. Why so early? She asked. I'm just checking on things, I said. Do you want tea? She nodded, and I helped her sit up. Your brother makes stronger tea, she said, but yours tastes kinder. It should have been a compliment. Today it felt like a sentence. By 10, the day settled into that false peace houses sometimes carry when storms are hiding, right above the roof. I found my courage and went back to the office. If he put the folder somewhere safe, then he didn't think I would look everywhere. I started with the obvious. The coat closet, the old suitcase with a broken zipper, the shoebox of cables no one ever throws away. I found everything except what I needed. Pictures of Dad's fishing trip, a dried-out marker that still smelled of school, a tiny map Mom drew for the time we got lost on the way to the new grocery, and my own heartbeat, stubborn and loud. When I finally reached the hall table, the one with the sticky drawer, I pulled too hard and the whole thing jumped. Something thudded underneath. I got down on my knees and felt along the bottom panel until my fingers brushed tape. There it was. A manila envelope flattened against the wood. I peeled it off and saw our last name written in Mom's careful hand. My hands shook. Inside there were copies, photocopies, of the will, along with a note. In case I forget where I put trust. The same joke, the same quiet fire. I read the photocopy. It was simple, half and half as Dad had wanted, a few special items named with love, the gold bangles to me, Dad's pocket knife to Daniel, the recipe book to both. No surprises, no tricks. I knew this document. I'd looked at it with Mom months ago when we were labeling boxes. This was order. This was fairness. This was my proof. I took the envelope to the kitchen and set it on the table like an offering. "We need to talk," I said when Daniel walked in, phone still in his hand. He glanced at the envelope and then at me, and I saw it, the quick flash of calculation. He slid the phone into his pocket. "What now?" He leaned on the counter. He was the picture of patience to anyone who didn't know the language of delay. "This is the will," I said. "This is what Mom signed. This is what she's signed for years. Half and half. We both know that." He laughed, light and sharp. "Photocopies," he said. "Anyone can keep old copies. Documents change. People update. Life moves." "So show me the update," I said. My voice didn't crack. It was flat as a table set for a fight. "If there's a new will, show me." He looked past me at the window as if something outside could save him. "You don't trust me," he murmured. "I want the truth," I said. "That's not the same thing." The kitchen filled with the fine dust of unsaid things. He wiped a clean counter with a clean cloth just to have something to do with his hands. "You're making this ugly," he said. "Mom doesn't need this stress. We should keep things simple." "Simple is half and half," I said. "Simple is what Dad wanted. Simple is not hiding folders or writing at 2 a.m. His face hardened. "You think you're the only one who cared for her?" he snapped. "You think making lists and cooking soup gives you some moral crown. I was here too. I listened. I picked up the calls you ignored. I heard things you didn't." "What things?" I asked. He hesitated. Then he straightened. "She changed her mind," he said. "Before she got sick, she told me she wanted me to manage the house. She said you get too attached to walls and memories. She wanted someone who could make decisions." My throat went cold. "She told me the opposite," I whispered. "She said we should share. She said love stays. She said—" He cut me off. "She told me privately." That word again. Privately. The witness you can't cross-examine. I stared at him, and under the anger I felt a sorrow so deep it made my ribs ache. Was this the kind of man my brother had become? A man who would stand in our mother's kitchen and tell me that secret conversations erased signatures. "Call Mr. Bennett," I said, pointing to the note I had found. "Call him now. We'll go together." He shook his head. "He's busy. Then we'll wait." He looked at me a long time as if waiting might change my shape. Then he smiled, a thin, tired thing. "Fine," he said. "This is ridiculous, but fine." He dialed, put the call on speaker. It went to voicemail. He hung up without leaving a message. "See?" he said. "Busy." "Leave a message," I said. He didn't. He tucked the phone away like a magician vanishing a coin. I didn't realize Mom was listening from the doorway until she spoke. "Children," she said, soft but firm. We turned. She stood there in her robe, small and serious, like a judge in slippers. "Why are you both loud in my quiet house?" I moved to her. "Mom, we're sorting papers. We just want to make sure everything is how you wanted," Daniel said, stepping in, voice sweetened. "You told me you wanted me to help with the house, remember?" Mom's eyes narrowed, not at the words, but at the shape they made. "I told both of you," she said. "Half and half. Be kind. Be fair." "Of course," Daniel said quickly. "Of course." He crossed the room and took her hand. He pressed it like a son, like an old friend, like a man with a plan. "But you did say I should manage, right?" He laughed, light. "Because she gets attached, and we need someone who makes decisions." Mom's eyes flicked to me. "You both make decisions," she said. "Different ones." "Did you sign anything new?" I asked, gentle. "Anything recent?" She frowned, thinking. "Your father liked the will as it was," she said. I don't remember changing it. The words sank like stones into a lake, slow, deep, final. Daniel's smile didn't move, but the skin around his eyes tightened. "Memory is tricky, Mom," he said. "That's why I help." We spent the rest of the day pretending to be normal. I cooked soup. He fixed the hinge on the porch door that squeaked. Mom watched a game show and fell asleep in the chair. But under our ordinary acts, the ground shifted. Every word had a double meaning. Every gesture had a shadow. In the late afternoon, my phone buzzed, a text from an old neighbor who'd visited last week. "How's your mom? By the way, was surprised Daniel said the house was already in his name. Is that true?" I read it twice. The room moved. Already in his name. When? How? I walked to the office. The locked drawer was still locked. The key was still in my pocket. I sat in Dad's old chair and stared at the desk until the grain of the wood became a river. The pen lay where I had left it, a small, dark anchor. "Tell the truth," I whispered to no one, "even if your voice shakes." When Daniel left for errands, I followed the quiet map of my fear to his car. I don't know what I was looking for. Guilt, proof, God. In the glove compartment, I found insurance papers and napkins. In the trunk, I found a plastic bin with tools and a folded blanket. Under the blanket, a slim folder. My hands trembled so hard I had to sit down on the edge of the trunk. I opened it. Inside were scanned copies, just the top halves, of the first page of the will and a transfer of title form, partially filled out. The signature line was blank. The date was last week. There was also a slip from a notary service. Appointment confirmed Tuesday, 3 p.m. My heart beat high in my throat like it wanted to run. I put everything back exactly as I found it. I closed the trunk softly. I walked into the house like a ghost and went to the bathroom to breathe into my hands. This wasn't just about a folder anymore. This was momentum. This was a plan with steps. He got home near dark, whistling. "We good?" he asked. He looked young in the low light, our childhood hiding under his adult face. For a second, I wanted to love him simple again. I almost did. "We need to talk to Mr. Bennett," I said. "Tomorrow." He rolled his neck like he'd slept wrong. "You're obsessed," he said. "This is getting weird." "Tomorrow," I repeated. "Please." He stared at me and then nodded, only to stop halfway. "Fine," he said, "but promise me you won't upset Mom." "I'm not the one upsetting her," I said. That night, the house held its breath. I checked the locks twice. I set the pen on my nightstand like a talisman, ridiculous and necessary. I lay down and stared at the ceiling until it was just lines and shadows and my own doubt staring back. At some point, sleep found me, heavy and hard. In the middle of the night, I woke to a sound I can still hear now if I let my mind quiet down enough. A click, a drawer, a careful step. I held my breath. The hallway light under my door brightened for a second and then dimmed. Footsteps passed. My mouth tasted like copper. I didn't move. I couldn't. My body had turned into the kind of silence that isn't peace. It's strategy. Morning came gray and tired. I made coffee with hands that felt borrowed. Mom's bedroom door was open. She was already in her chair by the window, thin back straight. Daniel was at the table with his laptop, typing like a man who had never done anything in secret. I sat across from him. "We go to Mr. Bennett after breakfast," I said. No room in the sentence for argument. He closed the laptop. "Sure," he said. "Let's put this to rest." In the car, we didn't speak. The radio played a song we used to sing as kids, and it hurt to hear it. The town looked the same, but felt different, as if every building knew something I didn't. When we reached the law office, the receptionist smiled like people do when they don't know your house is on fire. "Is Mr. Bennett in?" I asked. She glanced at the screen. "He has a 9:30, she said. "Can I tell him who's here?" "Tell him it's—" I began, but Daniel stepped forward. "Tell him it's me," he said. He gave his name and added, "We spoke." We sat on the leather chairs that make everyone sit up straight. My hands shook again. I pressed them between my knees. I wanted water. I wanted honesty to be a person who could walk out and sit between us. When Mr. Bennett opened the door, he looked older than I remembered. He smiled kindly. "Come in," he said. His office smelled like paper and a lemony cleaner that made my eyes sting. We sat. Daniel spoke first. "We wanted to confirm Mom's documents," he said, "to make sure everything is updated." Mr. Bennett folded his hands. "Your mother has always been very clear," he said. "Her will has been the same for many years, half to each child, certain items to each." I nodded. Relief flooded me so fast I almost swayed. Daniel smiled without showing teeth. "And recently?" he asked. "Any changes?" Mr. Bennett shook his head. "No recent changes filed with me," he said. "She left me a note last week to expect a call, but we didn't speak." He paused. "Is she considering adjustments?" "She might have," Daniel said smoothly. "We talked about me managing the house. She wants what's best." Mr. Bennett watched him for a beat too long. "Managing and owning are different," he said gently. "Her will is clear." Something in Daniel's face pinched. "Sometimes wills get amended without lawyers," he said, almost to himself. The room went colder. Mr. Bennett leaned forward. "I always advise against that," he said. "It creates confusion. Sometimes mischief." The word hung between us like a spider on a thread. I thought of the notary appointment slip. I thought of the transfer form. I thought of the night sounds that slid under my door like whispers. "Can we see the most recent signed document?" I asked. He nodded and turned to the cabinet. He pulled a file and opened it. He slid the will across the desk so we could read the first page. It was the same language I'd seen in the photocopies, the same fairness, the same steady love. He turned the page. Halfway down the second page, there was a signature in Mom's neat, careful script. The date was from 2 years ago. Below it, Mr. Bennett's own name as witness. He tapped it. "This is the controlling instrument," he said. "Unless a later valid will exists, this stands." I looked at Daniel. His jaw had tightened. His eyes were flat as coins. "What if there is an addendum?" he asked. "Something minor." "Then we would need to review it," Mr. Bennett said, "but I haven't received one." The air thinned. I could hear my own pulse. There, in black and white, was our family's truth, and yet, under the relief, a dread uncurled. Because I knew something he didn't know I knew, the notary appointment, the transfer form, the half-copied page. This wasn't over. This wasn't safety. This was the first fence in a field full of holes. We thanked him and left. In the parking lot, heat shimmered off the hoods of cars. I turned to Daniel. "Stop," I said. "Please, this is done." He stared past me, jaw working. "You think paper saves you?" he said. "You think signatures are stronger than need." "Need?" I asked. "Or greed?" His mouth twisted. "You don't understand what I've promised," he muttered. "What I've already set in motion." I stepped back. To who? The question blew out of me like a devout person's breath when they see a miracle or a monster. He didn't answer. He got in the car. We drove home through a silence that wasn't empty. It was crowded with all the things he didn't say. That afternoon, the neighbor came by with flowers and gossip and the casual cruelty of curiosity. "I heard congratulations are in order," she said to Daniel at the door. "Big move putting the house in your name. That was fast." Her smile was a knife wrapped in a napkin. I began, but Daniel cut in. "People talk," he said light. "Don't listen to people." When she left, I followed him to the office. "You told people," I said. "You told people you already own the house." He turned on me and the mask slipped. "I have to make sure things happen," he hissed. "Once people expect it, it becomes real." My anger rose like a wave and then broke into a new kind of quiet, rage to silence. It wasn't empty. It was focused. It gathered me. It sharpened me. I picked up the pen from the desk and placed it in my pocket. He watched, wary. "You're not going to win by pretending," I said. My voice was low, steady. "You're not going to wear me down with confusion. I know what you did. I know what you tried to do, and I know where we go next." He smiled without joy. "Where?" "To the truth," I said, "with witnesses." That night, I slept with the phone on the pillow next to me like a guard. My last thought before sleep slid over me was a picture of Mom at the window, of Dad's neat handwriting on old tax forms, of the house itself, its boards, its bones, wanting what was fair. The lawyer called me the next morning. He said Mom's will had a second page. The call from Mr. Bennett hit me like cold water. "There's a second page," he said. I didn't breathe for a full beat. A second page meant someone added something, or someone found something, or someone hid something. In our house, paper had started to feel like weather, changing, unpredictable, a storm inside a drawer. I told Daniel. He smiled a strange smile, like a man who hears a song he requested at the worst time. "See," he said, "you always panic first, and then the facts catch up with me." He said it like victory. I heard it like a warning. Word spread faster than truth. Families are like small towns. There's the official story, and then there's the version traded over tea. My aunt called first. "Your brother says the second page gives him the house to manage," she said, careful but not neutral. "Maybe that's best. You're sensitive." I stared at the wall. Sensitive, like honesty is a rash. By noon, the cousins had picked sides. The loud ones called me and told me to fight. The quiet ones texted him and told him to stay strong. Our group chat split into two smaller chats I couldn't see. Isn't that how division works? Not with a bang, but with a new thread. The neighbor brought a pie like peace could be sugared. "I don't want to get in the middle," she said while standing exactly in the middle. "But I heard there's a new page. And if Daniel's managing, maybe he can handle the repairs. The porch step looks loose." Her smile hurt my teeth. Money started to move, or maybe it started to freeze. Both feel the same when you need answers. The bank called. There was a flag on the account linked to the house taxes. "A request to change ownership is pending," the voice said, polite and distant. "Until we verify, some payments are paused." Taxes, utilities, insurance, things that keep a house, suddenly had question marks. I could feel the floor of our life tilt. Have you ever felt safe things wobble, like the ground forgot its job? I made a list. It didn't calm me. I called the power company, the water company, the insurance. Each call ended with the same careful sentence: "We need documentation." My stomach sank. Documentation was the new God, and God didn't know me yet. At night, guilt crawled beside me like a shadow that didn't need light. I thought about every time I'd let something slide because love asked me to. I thought about the smile that didn't reach his eyes. I thought about Mom's pen on my nightstand. I thought about Dad saying, "half and half," like he was blessing a meal. Was I stubborn or faithful? Was he practical or cruel? What would you call it if it was your brother, your house, your small history with a roof? The past started tapping on the windows, asking to be let in. I remembered Mom long before she got weak, sitting at the same desk with the blue curtains dancing in the summer breeze. She used to hum under her breath while she worked. She'd pause to add sticky notes in pink and yellow to everything. "Don't forget. Call Thursday. Ask both kids." Even then, she made copies of copies. "Paper is slow memory," she told me once. "People forget. Paper helps people remember." Back then, I thought it was just her way of being careful. Now, it felt like she saw the future standing in our hallway. More flashbacks kept coming, not in order, but true. The day she gave me the drawer key with a little laugh. For when I forget where I put trust. The afternoon, she took me to the bank, just to see how things work and introduced me to the manager by my full name. The week she insisted we both get on the insurance policy even though it was a hassle. She'd been laying breadcrumbs for years. I only saw the map once I was lost. On the third day, Mr. Bennett called again. "Come in," he said. "Both of you. Bring your mother if she's well enough. We need to settle what this second page is." His voice was kind but brisk, like a doctor who doesn't have time to chat with fear. Daniel didn't want Mom to go. "It'll tire her," he said. I looked at her and asked with my eyes. She nodded. "I'll come," she said. "I don't like secrets breathing in my living room." It was such a mom sentence that I almost laughed, and then I almost cried. At the office, Mr. Bennett's assistant, a woman named Lila, offered Mom water and set a small fan near her chair. "Long day?" she asked. "Long year," I said. She gave me a look that said she understood more than the weather forecast. Mr. Bennett spread the file on the table like he was laying out a picnic of facts. "This is your mother's will," he said. "It has 2 pages. It has always had 2 pages." He tapped the staples. The second page lists the specific items and the witness signature. It is not a separate amendment. It is the continuation. He slid it closer. I read slowly, afraid of words that could cut me. Nothing had changed. The bangles to me, the pocket knife to Daniel, the house, half and half. Daniel leaned back like a man in a movie who just realized the hero didn't die. "Then what's the issue?" he asked. "We're wasting time." Mr. Bennett didn't blink. "The issue," he said, "is that I was notified of a notary appointment for a transfer of title that I didn't prepare." He looked directly at Daniel. "That would be irregular, an invalid, absent proper authority. If someone misled a notary, that's a problem." Silence, heavy as wet wool. Daniel stared at the table. "I was exploring options," he said. "Mom wanted me to manage. We needed speed. She hates paperwork." Mr. Bennett folded his hands. "Speed is the cousin of mistake," he said, "and the sibling of mischief. The court does not reward either." He turned to Mom. "Ma'am, do you want any change to your will?" Mom's eyes were clear like winter sky. "Fair," she said simply. "Half and half." We left with a plan that tasted like medicine, necessary, bitter. Mr. Bennett would file for a protective order to prevent any transfers while Mom was alive and fragile. He would ask the court for an emergency hearing to reaffirm the will and freeze the title from clever hands. "It's not about drama," he said. "It's about clarity." And then the bills hit. Real life is rude like that. The tax notice arrived with a red bar at the top that made my heart stumble. The insurance sent a letter saying our coverage would lapse if ownership was unclear past 30 days. The pharmacy called to say Mom's medication plan was pending verification because the account holder might be changing. Everything small became big. Everything basic became a fight. I called Daniel into the kitchen. "We have to fix the mess you made," I said, not sweet. "You made calls. Call back. Untie the knots." He looked tired in a way that made him look young again, vulnerable and stubborn. "You think I wanted this?" he asked. "You think I like being the bad guy? I'm trying to keep the house from sinking." "Sinking from what?" I asked. His eyes slid away. "From debt," he said finally. "I told you I'd manage. To manage, you need money. I borrowed. I fronted the roof repair last year. Borrowed from who?" My voice shook for the first time. "What did you promise?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. 2 days later, a man showed up with a polite smile and a business card that made my skin feel too tight. "A friendly check-in," he said, like a dentist who happens to knock at midnight. He asked for Daniel. He asked for a timeline. He asked to see the house. I asked him to leave. He did. But he left his card in the fruit bowl like he'd be back for it. That's when shame arrived. Not mine, not really. But it came and sat on my couch anyway. I felt it in the way the grocery cashier looked at me when my card hiccuped because the account was frozen. I felt it in the way the neighbor stopped watering her plants to wave with too much energy, as if her gesture could scrub the air. Shame is heavy. It makes you walk slower. It makes your throat small. At night, I lay in the dark, practicing sentences I could say to Mom that wouldn't harm her. It's fine. We're sorting it. Nothing to worry about. Lies that were trying to be kindness. I hated them and needed them. Have you ever wanted to protect someone from the truth while the truth was busy breaking open your house? Then came the flashback that changed the temperature of my mind. Not a memory, exactly. A scene I had not noticed while living it. 2 winters ago, Mom and I were sorting papers at the desk. She'd grown tired and closed her eyes. I started to put everything back when she opened them and said, "Wait." She reached into the bottom of the file and pulled out a little blue envelope with no writing on it. She pressed it to her lips like a secret and then tucked it under the false bottom of the drawer. "This one," she said, "is for when paper isn't enough." Then she fell asleep in the chair. At 3 a.m, that memory woke me up like someone turned on a light. I went to the office, heart hammering, hand shaking. I slid the drawer open and pressed where the wood felt too smooth. The panel shifted. I reached in. The blue envelope was there, cool as a lake stone. I didn't open it. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared my hope would be too loud. I put it in my pocket and slept with it like a child sleeps with a talisman. In the morning, the outside forces arrived for real. Mr. Bennett called. Emergency hearing in 2 days. The judge wants clarity before month end. He sounded calm. My hands did not. The bank called. We've temporarily restored payments under a caretaker clause, but we need court confirmation. The insurance called. Bring a letter from the attorney. Everything leashed to the same stake, the court. When I told Daniel about the hearing, he looked like a man who found out the test was not open book. "Do we have to?" he asked. "This will make Mom tired. This will make us honest," I said. "There's a difference." The family reacted like an audience that didn't buy tickets but still wanted a front row seat. One cousin sent me a long message about how court destroys families. Another sent me a shorter one. "Proud of you. Don't blink." My aunt left me a voicemail with a prayer and a warning braided together. Everyone had an opinion. Very few had facts. Isn't that always the way? The day before the hearing, Lila from the law office called me on her lunch break. "I shouldn't say this," she whispered, "but check every signature your brother filed. There's a pattern." Then she hung up. I sat at the kitchen table and traced dates on a notebook. The notary slip, the appointment, the attempted transfer, the bank hold, the neighbor's gossip, the polite man with the card, a chain, a plan, and under it all, my brother's need like a river, digging a new path through our land. That night, I opened the blue envelope. Inside was a single page. Mom's handwriting filled the top half, steady but softer than before. If anyone tries to move what shouldn't move, open the sealed. Letter at Mr. Bennett's office. Don't read it alone. Truth is heavy. Let a table hold it. Beneath her note was a small key taped to the paper. The label read, "Be safe." Simple. Sharp. I felt my breath return to me like a scared animal finding its way back home. The morning of the hearing, the house felt like a body holding its breath. I dressed Mom slow. I packed her pills, her water, a soft scarf she liked to touch when rooms were too bright. Daniel wore his good shirt, the one he saved for holidays and job interviews. He looked handsome and tired, like a man halfway between a picture and a confession. In the courtroom, time moved strange. The ceiling was too high. The benches were too hard. People spoke in careful sentences that trembled on their way out. The judge was a woman with quiet eyes and a voice that could cut rope. She asked simple questions that left no space for decoration. What do you want? What is true? What is written? It felt like sitting at a table with a math teacher who cared about both answers and work shown. Mr. Bennett stood straight and steady. He told the story with no adjectives, dates, signatures, notices, calls. Daniel's lawyer, a man who smiled like a showroom, said my brother was only eager, only devoted, only trying to prevent problems. He is the practical child, he said, glancing at me like emotion was a crime. When they asked Mom if she wanted to speak, she nodded. Her voice was thin but sharp. "Fair," she said, "half and half." Then she reached for my hand and then, to my surprise, for Daniel's. She squeezed both. We were children again for one heartbeat, our mother's hands a bridge. "But you can't live your whole life on a heartbeat." The judge asked about a sealed envelope mentioned in a filing Mr. Bennett had added that morning. He nodded. "Your Honor," he said. "Mrs. Bennett." He always called Mom that at work, even though she corrected him. "Left a sealed letter with instructions to be opened if there was confusion or attempt of irregular transfer." Daniel's lawyer objected. The judge raised a palm. "We will see it," she said. Then she looked at me, and in her face I saw not power, but patience, and it made me want to tell the truth until it ran out of me like rain. We took a short recess, and in that hallway a new outside force arrived. The bank's legal liaison, a woman with tight curls and bright eyes. "I'm here to confirm the caretaker clause and to observe," she said. "Also, a realtor sent us an inquiry last week about listing the property without authorization. I thought you should know." She looked at Daniel when she said it. He looked away. My chest hurt, but not like breaking, more like setting. Back inside, I slid the blue envelope across the table to Mr. Bennett. "She told me to bring this," I said. He placed it next to the file, neat, respectful. The judge watched like a person listens to thunder, far away. Mr. Bennett unlocked his desk drawer and took out a small, heavier envelope, sealed with red wax like an old story. He set it on the table next to Mom's blue one. "This is the sealed letter Mrs. Bennett asked me to hold," he said. "She brought it 6 months ago. She said, for when paper isn't enough." He smiled, sad. That was her way. The room felt crowded with our past. Dad's laugh in the kitchen, Mom's notes on the fridge, our childhood arguments, the first snow on the porch, the sound of the power bill envelope sliding through the mail slot, the way Daniel used to make the dog dance on its hind legs. All of it was here, sitting quietly, waiting to be sorted alongside the law. The judge nodded once. "Open it," she said. When the lawyer opened the sealed envelope in court, everything changed. When Mr. Bennett broke the red wax and slid out the letter, the room got quiet in a new way. Not the scared kind, the kind where truth steps into the light and everyone blinks. He read the first lines and I felt heat rise in my face. My mother had written it to the court, to us, to the future. Her handwriting looked like a path I knew by heart. She began with love. She talked about Dad, about fairness, about how she believed a home is not just walls, but promises. Then her words sharpened. She said if this letter was being read, something had gone wrong with those promises. She said she made copies of important papers because paper is slow memory and people forget. She said she trusted both her children, but she also trusted proof. As Mr. Bennett read, I felt my shoulders lower, as if someone took a bag off my back I didn't know I was carrying. In the letter, she named dates. She listed where she kept things. The 2-page will in Mr. Bennett's file, the copies in the hall table, the key under the blue ribbon in the kitchen jar. She said if anyone attempted to move the house title without his office, stop the motion and ask the court to freeze the title until clarity returned. She had written those words, "Stop the motion." They sounded like a hand on a chest telling a racing heart to calm down. Then she wrote one more thing. She said there was a voice recording with Mr. Bennett, sealed and time-stamped, to be opened only if confusion or pressure made it hard to remember what was said. "I am not changing my will," she wrote. "Half to each child. The house belongs to both. If one of my children claims I told him something different in private, he misunderstood me. I said he could help manage the tasks, not own the place. Managing is a job. Owning is a right. These are not the same." The words hit like a bell in a quiet church. I looked at Daniel. His face didn't move, but there was a tiny twitch near his eye, like a bird in a cage testing the wire. My chest ached and eased at the same time. This was my mother, even now, holding the line with a gentle hand and a firm voice. The judge nodded for Mr. Bennett to continue. He reached into the file and brought out a small black USB. He held it up. "Mrs. Bennett gave me this 6 months ago," he said. "She asked me to store it with the letter." My heart jumped. Somewhere in the past, my mother had been thinking about the day we were living. Somewhere in the past, she had made a small plan for a big mess. The judge looked at me. "Do you have anything to say before we proceed?" she asked. I stood. My legs felt like new wood, tight, unsure, but they held. I looked at the judge, at the room, at my brother. I took a breath and spoke from the place that had been burning for weeks. "I may have lost everything," I said, "but I still have the truth." My voice surprised me. It didn't shake. It rang. I have cooked the meals, paid the bills, and watched over my mother's sleep. But I also watched my brother write in the office at 2 in the morning. I found a notary slip. I found a half-scanned page. I heard neighbors say the house was already his. None of that matches what my mother wrote. None of that matches the will I have held in my hands. I don't want to win. I want what's fair. I want what my parents wanted. I felt tears press against my eyes. I did not let them fall. "We are all standing in a room full of words," I said. "Some are loud, some are careful. Today, please listen to the careful ones. They took longer to write." The judge listened without blinking. She didn't smile. She didn't frown. She looked like a person who was trying to measure wind with her hands. When I sat, my knees trembled, and then they stopped. A quiet strength settled in me. For the first time since this began, I felt less like a victim and more like a witness who could stand up straight. Daniel's lawyer stood and spoke about misunderstanding, about timing, about how my brother was a son under pressure, not a thief. He said the second page was confusing. He said people use words like manage and own loosely. He said the notary appointment was a mistake, a well-meaning attempt to help an aging parent. He used the word eager 3 times. It sounded like a bandage that didn't stick. The judge raised a hand and the words in the room stopped moving. She turned to Daniel. "Do you want to say anything yourself?" she asked. He stood. For a second, I saw the boy he used to be, the kid who stole cookies and then shared them, the teen who made the dog howl along to old songs. Then he looked at the floor. "I thought I was helping," he said. "Mom told me to handle things." I took that to mean more than tasks. I hear her now, and maybe I was wrong, but I have put money in already. I have made promises. I can't just... He stopped. His throat worked. I didn't mean to hurt her. Or my sister. I didn't want to be the bad guy. The room held its breath. The judge nodded once, as if she had been waiting for at least some part of that. "Intent is a factor," she said, "but so is action." She turned to Mr. Bennett. "Let's introduce the recording." "Before we do," Mr. Bennett said, "there is a witness here today who asked to speak if needed." He looked toward the back. A woman stood up, tight curls, bright eyes, the bank liaison. She walked forward and took the stand. She testified that a realtor had contacted the bank about a listing. She testified that a temporary hold had been requested by a party claiming forthcoming title. She testified that she had flagged the file because the name did not match the ownership. Her voice was calm. Her facts were clean. Each sentence felt like a nail tapping into wood, holding the frame steady. Then Lila, Mr. Bennett's assistant, asked if she could submit call logs from the office. The judge allowed it. Dates lined up. The day Daniel had spoken with Mr. Bennett about options. The day he had missed a scheduled appointment. The day a notary service confirmed a time that Mr. Bennett had not approved. The pattern was not perfect, but it was clear. It made a shape you couldn't ignore. It matched the shape I'd been tracing in my notebook during sleepless nights. With each new piece, something shifted inside me. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was acting. I was choosing. I was protecting. I took my mother's blue envelope out of my bag and laid it on the table in front of me like a small flag. I saw Daniel glance at it. He swallowed. For the first time, I believed he could stop. For the first time, I believed he might not. The judge turned back to me. "If this recording confirms what the letter says," she said, "what do you want from the court?" I stood again. "Freeze the title," I said. "Reaffirm the will. Block any transfer outside the attorney of record. Order that any debts my brother created using this house as hope are his to explain, not the house's to carry. And please, Your Honor, give us a path to care for our mother without war." My voice got soft on the last line. I didn't plan it. It was true. War eats time. War eats sleep. War eats families. I did not want our days to be bones picked clean by this fight. The judge looked down at her notes. She drew a small line with her pen and then another like she was scoring a quiet song. "We will address remedies after facts," she said, "but I hear your request." Mr. Bennett plugged the USB into a small player the clerk brought out. He didn't press play yet. He looked at the judge. "Before I begin," he said, "I want to note for the record that this recording was taken in my office with Mrs. Bennett present and lucid and with me asking open questions. The date and time are embedded in the file." The judge nodded. "And then I did something I did not plan, but it felt right. I asked to speak to my brother, not to the room, not to the record, to him." The judge allowed it. I turned to him and kept my voice low so it would land where it should. "You can end this," I said. "You can say we follow the will, we share the house, and we take care of Mom together. You can step back from the edge right now." He looked at me with eyes I knew and didn't know. "I don't know how to fix what I promised," he said. "I thought if I made it real fast, the fear would stop. It got louder." "I know," I said. "Fear is loud, but the truth is steady. Pick steady." For a second, his face cracked. Shame and relief and stubbornness fought behind his eyes like lightning behind a cloud. He didn't speak. The judge cleared her throat. The moment closed like a book. "We will proceed," she said. "We are here for clarity." We all turned toward the small black box on the table. The clerk checked the speakers. The court reporter angled her head. Mr. Bennett's finger hovered over the button, and the room leaned forward like a single body wanting the same thing. Even the air felt ready. My hands were flat on my knees. I could feel my pulse in my palms. I thought of Dad on the porch at dusk, saying simple things that turned out to be wise. I thought of Mom humming while she sorted bills. I thought of Daniel, not as a villain, but as a man who took a wrong path and kept walking, because he didn't know how to turn around without losing face. I thought of myself, not as the sensitive one, but as the steady one, the one who would not move the line even if the tide begged me to. Right then, the judge looked at my mother. "Mrs. Bennett," she said softly, "are you comfortable to listen?" Mom nodded. She lifted her chin. "Truth is heavy," she said, repeating her own line. "Let the table hold it." People smiled, even people who do not usually smile in court. The judge gave the slightest nod. A small motion, but it felt like a door opening. The room drew one shared breath. You could almost hear it. Hope and fear held hands like children at a crosswalk. Then the judge paused and said, "Play the tape." The room holds its breath. Mr. Bennett presses play. My mother's voice fills the courtroom, calm, clear, strong. "This is me," she says, and she says her full name. "Today's date is..." The timestamp is read aloud. No one moves. Even the air seems to listen. She speaks like she always did when things mattered. Slow, kind, firm. "I am not changing my will," she says. "Half to each child. The house belongs to both. Daniel may help with tasks. He does not own the home alone. Managing is a job. Owning is a right. These are not the same." Every word is a door closing on a lie. She keeps going. "If anyone tries to move the title without my lawyer, stop them. If anyone says I promised the house in private, they misunderstood. I love both my children. Love is fair. Then she laughs, soft. Paper is slow memory. I trust paper to hold the truth when people are tired. The recording ends. For a heartbeat, silence rings like a bell. Then sound returns all at once. Someone coughs, a pen clicks, a chair creaks. I breathe for the first time in what feels like weeks. The judge looks at my brother. His face is pale. His jaw is tight. He opens his mouth, then closes it. His lawyer starts to speak, but the judge lifts a hand. Let him respond, she says. Daniel stands. His voice is small at first. She told me to handle things, he says. She said I was the one who could make hard choices. I thought, his throat works. He looks at the floor. I thought help meant more. His lawyer quickly adds, my client acted under pressure. There was confusion. His intent was to protect his mother and the property. The judge's eyes don't change. Intent is noted, she says. Action is what we decide on. I can feel the room shift. The power moves. It doesn't rush. It settles. It settles on the will, on the letter, on the recording. It settles on the truth like a hand smoothing a wrinkled sheet. Mr. Bennett asks the court to enter the recording into evidence. The judge nods. Then he takes out one more document. For clarity, Your Honor, he says, Mrs. Bennett signed a no contest clause 2 years ago. If any beneficiary actively contests the will, that person forfeits their personal item bequest and must reimburse attorney's fees drawn by the estate. He slides the paper forward. Daniel's head jerks up. What? He looks at me like I planned a trap. I didn't. Mom did. She always thought 3 steps ahead when it came to peace. The judge reads. Then she looks at Daniel's lawyer. Your client scheduled a notary to transfer title without the attorney of record, she says. Your client told third parties the house was already his. Your client triggered bank holds that risked utilities and medication. That is not neutral. Her voice is quiet, but every word lands. The lawyer tries one last time. He truly believed. Belief doesn't change signatures, she says, or bank notices, or this recording. She taps the file. Denial flickers across Daniel's face. He shakes his head. She told me. She did. His voice gets louder. She said I should lead. She said... He looks at Mom. Tell them you said I could take the house if I made it better. Mom's hands are folded. Her eyes are clear as winter sky. I said help, she answers, not take. Then she turns to the judge. Fair, she says again, soft but fierce, half and half. Something snaps inside my brother. Rage rushes in to fill the space where denial lived. You never let me be the strong one, he shouts at me. You want to control everything, lists, keys, calendars, every little thing. I wanted order, I say. My voice doesn't shake. I wanted what they wanted. He laughs, a sharp, broken sound. You wanted to be the hero. No, I say. I wanted us to be decent. It hits him then. The tide goes out of his face. He collapses back into his chair like the fight leaked out. He rubs his eyes. He looks small. Not a villain. A man who got lost and kept walking deeper. The judge speaks. Here is the ruling, she says. We reaffirm the 2-page will as controlling. We freeze the title for 90 days. No sale, no transfer, no lien without court order. We appoint co-conservators for Mrs. Bennett's affairs, her daughter and a neutral fiduciary. The son is barred from unilateral actions on the property. Any existing promises made to third parties are personal liabilities. The estate will not carry them. I exhale. It feels like a heavy door opening in my chest. I grip the edge of the bench and just breathe. The judge continues. Under the no contest clause, the son forfeits his personal bequest if he files any further contest. Court costs and reasonable attorney's fees caused by his actions will be reimbursed by him to the estate. Additionally, the court orders a financial accounting of any funds moved in connection with the attempted title transfer. She looks at Daniel. You will provide records. There is no yelling now, no drama, just law standing up straight. The bank liaison steps forward and adds, "With the court's order, we will restore the accounts, remove the hold, and prevent any unauthorized change." Her voice is bright with efficiency. The sound feels like a clean room after a storm. Then Mr. Bennett clears his throat. "Your Honor," he says, "Mrs. Bennett also established a small house care fund 18 months ago, separate from the estate. It can only be used for repairs if both siblings sign together with a fiduciary or if a judge authorizes its release. It does not pass to either child alone. It exists only to keep the home safe." My breath catches. Mom planned even for this. She knew love could crack under money. She built a bridge anyway. The judge nods. "That is wise," she says. She turns to us. "Work together, or let the fiduciary decide. But the home will not be a pawn." Her tone makes the word home feel holy. We step into the hallway during a recess, and the family is waiting like a storm cloud. My aunt pulls me into a hug so tight it almost hurts. "You did right," she says into my hair. "You did brave." A cousin who took Daniel's side won't meet my eyes at first, then whispers, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." I nod. I don't have space for bitterness. I'm full of relief. Daniel stands apart. He looks like a man on a dock watching a ship leave without him. I walk over. "We can still fix what we can," I say. "We can care for Mom together. We can share the house. We can pay back what you promised one step at a time if you tell the truth now." He stares at the floor. "I can't pay it all," he says. He means money. I hear the other debt, the calls, the gossip, the time he spent pretending the lie was real. "I can't fix it all." "No," I say, "but you can stop breaking more." He nods, small. "I'll try," he says. It isn't a hero line. It's a human one. Maybe that's better. We go back in. The judge returns. "One more matter," she says. "There is a question about Mom's capacity on certain dates. The court will accept a sworn letter from her doctor." Mr. Bennett hands it over, a statement from months ago, signed and clear. Patient understood and affirmed her will and estate plan. The judge files it. Another door locks on another lie. Then the court asks if Mom wants to say anything before we end. She stands with help. She turns to the judge. "Thank you," she says. She turns to the room. "My children will share my house. They will share my table. If they cannot share, then let a stranger hold the plate until they learn how." People smile. Some wipe their eyes. Mom sits. She closes her eyes for a moment and breathes like a person who just set down a heavy bag. Mr. Bennett collects the files. He places the sealed letter on top of the stack, the broken wax still bright like a warning and a blessing. As we prepare to leave, he says quietly, "There is one more item Mrs. Bennett left with me. It's not for the court. It's not for the file. It's personal." A heat rises in my chest. "What is it?" He looks at my mother. She nods. He looks at the judge. She nods too. He opens a small drawer and pulls out a thin cream envelope with my first name written in Mom's careful hand. He doesn't hand it to me yet. He waits. And then the secondary twist lands like a soft thunder. Mr. Bennett places another sheet on the table. "Also, Your Honor," he says for the record, "Mrs. Bennett created a community clause. If either child attempts to sell the home in the first 5 years, 10% of the sale must go to a scholarship fund in their father's name at the local school. She asked me to read that only if there was fighting." He glances at us. There was fighting. The judge smiles for the first time. "That is poetic," she says, "and enforceable." She signs the order. The clerk stamps. The sound is crisp, final, like a lid clicking shut. We walk out of the courtroom into ordinary light. The sky is simple blue. The parking lot is the same as before, but nothing is the same. The fear that rode in my ribs is gone. In its place is a steady hum, not victory, something deeper, justice, balance, a promise kept. As we reach the door, Daniel stops. He touches Mom's hand. I'm sorry, he says. It is quiet. It is real. She squeezes his fingers. Be better, she whispers. Start now. He nods. His eyes shine. He is my brother again, not the storm, not yet the sun, but maybe the morning. On the ride home, I ask myself the hard questions I avoided when this started. Did I miss the signs? Did I make it worse by staying quiet too long? Did love make me slow? The answer is yes, and also no. Love made me slow to anger. Truth made me steady. Steady won. We pull into the driveway. The house looks like itself. Porch crooked, step now fixed, curtains a little faded. It looks like a heart that made it through surgery. Not perfect. Alive. Inside, Mom sits in her chair by the window. Light falls across her hands. I kneel in front of her and lay my head on her knee like I did when I was small. We did it, I whisper. She strokes my hair. We told the truth, she says. Truth did the rest. Mr. Bennett sets his briefcase on the table. He takes out the cream envelope. He finally hands it to me. For you, he says. She said you'd know when to open it. My fingers shake. I slide a nail under the flap. I stop. Not yet. The moment stretches, sweet and sharp. I look at you, the one listening. You came this far with me. You felt the fear, the anger, the relief. Tell me now, when family tests you, do you fight loud or do you fight steady? Do you forgive a person who almost sold your past if they promise to protect your future? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear how you carry truth in your own house. But there was one more letter, addressed only to me. The storm finally passed, but the air still smelled of rain. Days after the verdict, the house was quieter than I remembered, almost shy, like it was learning how to breathe again. The documents were signed, the court order sealed, the balance restored. Justice had done its job, but peace was something we had to build ourselves. Mom sat by the window again, the same window where she used to hum lullabies when the world was simpler. The light touched her hair like forgiveness. She looked at me and said, "See? Fairness takes time, but it never forgets where it's going." I nodded, but my heart was still sore. Truth had won, but truth had teeth. It left marks. Daniel didn't move out right away. He stayed for a few weeks, helping around the house, fixing what was broken, doors, lights, and slowly, trust. We didn't talk about the court much. Sometimes silence is safer than words. Sometimes love just needs a quieter shape. The neighbors stopped whispering. The cousins stopped calling for gossip. Aunt Lydia brought soup and said she was proud of me, then turned and hugged Daniel too. "Family is heavy," she said, "but you don't drop it just because your arms hurt." One afternoon, Daniel came into the kitchen with a folder. "I spoke to the bank," he said softly. "They agreed to cancel the pending transfer and freeze the debt. I'll handle what's left. Alone." His voice cracked on that word. I wanted to be angry, but anger felt too small for what we'd been through, so I just nodded. "Thank you," I said. He looked at me, guilt still swimming behind his eyes. "I didn't mean to steal. I just wanted to matter." "You always did," whispered. "You just didn't have to take everything to prove it." He left the next day, suitcase small, shoulders smaller. The sound of the front door closing was softer than I expected. It wasn't final. It was tired. Over the next few weeks, I began cleaning every room one by one. Not because it was dirty, but because it was haunted with tension. Every drawer, every floorboard, every creak held the ghost of the fight we'd just survived. I found Mom's old recipe book with flower fingerprints still pressed between pages. I found one of Dad's fishing lures tangled in thread in the garage. I found the faded Post-it note on the mirror that read, "Kindness counts twice when nobody's looking." I fixed the curtains, repainted the porch rail, and replaced the dying flowers out front with new ones. Marigolds, Mom's favorite. She said they kept bad spirits away. One evening, I walked outside just before sunset. The light hit the windows just right, and for a moment the reflection looked like our family again. Dad holding a hammer, Mom holding tea, Daniel grinning like he used to before money made everything feel like a contest. It hurt to see, but it also healed. A week later, I took Mom to the cemetery. She insisted on walking on her own, slow but steady. She carried a single white rose in her hand. We stood by Dad's grave, the headstone clean, the earth settled. She laid the rose down and whispered something I couldn't hear. Then she looked up at me. "I made mistakes too," she said. "I thought love would be enough to keep you both safe. But sometimes you need fences, not to keep love out, but to keep greed from creeping in." I took her hand. "You did everything right." She smiled faintly. "No, I did everything I could." We stood there in the fading light, and for the first time in a long time, I felt peace, not the fragile kind that hides in silence, but the real kind that grows out of scars. That night, after Mom went to bed, I finally opened the last letter. Her handwriting filled the page, soft, steady, no corrections. "My sweet girl, if you're reading this, it means the noise has settled. Remember, the house is only wood and walls. The real inheritance is the courage to stand for what's right, even when your heart trembles. Forgive your brother, not because he earned it, but because forgiveness is freedom. You get to walk lighter when you let go of what you can't fix. But don't forget. Forgetting lets the wound reopen. Forgive, but never forget the truth. The house will stand longer than we will. Keep it warm. Love, Mom." Tears fell on the paper, darkening the ink. Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of every generation before her. Every mother who tried to keep her family whole in a world that loves to split things apart. I folded the letter and slipped it back into the envelope. Then I put it in the desk drawer, under the blue ribbon jar where she used to hide spare keys. Some truths are too sacred to throw away. Time moved on quietly after that. The house filled with small sounds again. Tea kettle whistles, creaky stairs, the hum of the fridge. Daniel visited once a month. He helped mow the lawn. He stayed for tea. We didn't talk about the court, but I noticed the way he looked at Mom's chair. Careful, respectful. Maybe remorse had finally taught him what love never could. One afternoon, I found him sitting by the porch step, hammer in hand. "This board's loose again," he said. "You were right. It needs fixing from underneath." He smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. I smiled back. Maybe that was our truce. As the seasons changed, the house began to feel alive again. Not a battleground, but a home that survived the storm. The walls didn't echo anger anymore. They held memory. Sometimes, at night, I still hear Mom's voice in the hum of the ceiling fan. Fairness takes time, but it finds its way home. And every time I whisper back, it did. On the anniversary of the ruling, I placed a framed copy of the will on the wall, not to gloat, but to remind myself that fairness isn't given, it's defended. Underneath, I hung Mom's favorite quote in her handwriting. "Truth is heavy. Let the table hold it." I sit beneath it sometimes with tea, listening to the rain tapping on the window, and think about everything we lost and everything we gained. Justice didn't make us rich. It didn't make us whole overnight, but it gave us back our name, our peace, and the right to start again without fear. That's worth more than anything written on paper. And now, as I sit here in the same house where everything began, I have one last question for you, the one that keeps me up at night. If your own family betrayed you, if they lied and tried to steal what your parents built, would you forgive them for being weak, or would you walk away forever? Tell me in the comments below, because sometimes the story doesn't end with justice. It ends with the choice of what kind of heart you want to live with. Forgive, but never forget the truth. Yet, the